I think when we start getting ready to write, in my case, writing is one of my art forms, that being able to center allows you to go to the computer or to start that process without being in a frenetic, desperate state. And at every step along the way, every time you start to get frenetic, like, oh, it's not where I want it to be. Will I be able to do this? Is you just, it's all part of the process. My name is Linda Seger. I live in the mountains of Colorado, just about 5 or 8 miles from Colorado Springs. And I'm actually what I call a Quaker at large now, which means I am taking advantage of the Zoom meetings that are all over the world. And I'm finding out a lot of kind of where fit. I go to Portland, Oregon. I go to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and sometimes to New Zealand on Saturday afternoons. And I'm finding that a very, very rich experience, partly because my next book is going to be about Quakers. I have been interested in this intersection of creativity and spirituality for almost 50 years now. And I find that intersection is very close to Quakerism. And I think also that sense of being called to do your art, whatever that art form is, that you say, okay, God, here's the deal. If I feel called to do this, I felt very much called to do this book. And I said, so if I feel called to do this, you got to help me out. That's the deal. And you have to keep me going. And when I'm losing my discipline, you have to help buoy me up. So I usually start with the writing with some quiet time and just say, God, this is the next step. So be with me and let your spirit be with me. So there's and in God's part in our art, there's a lot of places where the things I found out about creation and creativity in the Bible, to me, were very Quakerly. In the beginning of Genesis, it says the Spirit of God hovered over the deep. And the correct translation seems to be the word hover rather than move. And I got to thinking that that's what Quakers do. We hover. We hover before we speak. And that's what the artist can do, is before you go over to the easel, before you go to the computer, just sit there and hover for a minute. It's one person described it as the diver on the board before they dive in, that they have that moment of anticipation. So I learned to hover, and I also learned, as a result of doing this research on creativity, to rest. One of the things I learned in writing God's part in our art was about joy, that the creation stories are filled with joy. At the creation of the world, the morning stars sang. And Sophia, our wisdom, was by God's side, and she was a delight. If we don't have joy in our work, in our art, we are missing a very good, big part of this. Nobody makes us do our art. It's very rare for anyone to say, I will make you paint that picture or write that novel or do what that is. So that we have to have joy, not just in the result, we have to have joy in the process. And whatever we have to do to create the joy in the midst of the discipline, I think that becomes just as important as creating the piece.
Thanks for watching this Quaker Speak video. We release a new video every other Thursday. You can watch all our videos in this playlist here. You can subscribe to our channel by clicking this button here. You can support us through our Patreon here. Thanks again for watching, and have a happy Thursday.